and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie. This is Let Me Introduce You. Let Me Introduce You is a series of author interviews where I get to chat with some of my favorite new to me, sometimes new to me authors and introduce your works or their works to you guys as well. So at this time, let me introduce you to the amazing Debra Anastasia. Debra, please introduce yourself to us.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm Debra Anastasia, and I've been in the book business a long, hairy time now, and I write new adult comedy, angst, paranormal, pretty much whichever way the storyline flows is where we go, and that's me.
Awesome. So when did you realize that you wanted to be an author?
When I was a kid, I would tell stories to my friends around a badminton setup that we had in our backyard, and it would start out as a dream, and then I would continue the plot, and I would talk. I have very understanding friends and my sister who would sit around and listen to these plots that I would sort of just come up with while we were playing badminton. And I don't know if that's when I wanted to be an author, but I think I started creating fake stories in my backyard playing badminton.
That's when the story
no,
started.
wait, no, not badminton. What was it? Oh my gosh, it's a
Hopscotch?
volleyball around a stick. What's that?
Tetherball.
Tetherball. Oh,
yes.
Tetherball forever.
Oh,
Tetherball, and also like the tennis ball on a stick. That was fun. Stick.
Tennis
and
ball. Which one is this?
I know. Why is that sparking a memory?
I don't know that one.
Tennis ball on a stick, and we'd whack it around the canoodler. It's fun. Yeah, it's a fun one, man. I wish I had it in my backyard.
Tetherball was very, very dangerous. It was very, very dangerous. Oh my goodness. You can
super dangerous all the time. Yes.
Oh my
you
goodness.
can really, and especially if you got a little rage in you, you can really get it whipping around there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So do you gather when you write your experiences and put them in books, or do you just kind of make it up as you go along? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Both for sure. And I find there's pantsers and there's plotters.
Yep.
The pantsers just sort of let it rip, and plotters are more organized version of pantsers. And so I kind of do a little bit of both, mostly pantsing it. I almost always know where it's going to end up. And I usually have one key scene that I write around. But I do enjoy sort of letting it fill the page. Like when I have to really push for it, I feel like it doesn't always resonate. But if it sort of comes to you you can't even sleep because you're typing, then when I wake in the morning, I'm like, okay, there was a reason I wrote this. It makes sense. And it, moved the story along. And yeah, so that's kind of, I was taught how to write on fan fiction, Twilight fan fiction. And the way that works, if you've never seen it before, is you sort of write chapter by chapter, and you get readers that follow the chapters. So I was taught to write basically by readers. They told you that it went well by giving you more reviews. And so you would always try and leave a sort of a cliffhanger to bring them for next time. You had to resolve something in that chapter, otherwise they would be bored. And you would do a little promo before you release the chapter. Sometimes you would drop the chapter. I wish everybody could have that experience going into writing, because it was absolutely the best way to learn how to write, I think. Anyway, did I answer the question? I feel like I answered every question.
Yeah, that's fine. No, we're just chatting it up. So starting with Twilight fan fiction of sorts. That was like back in 2011, correct? Which is is Poughkeepsie your first novel that you released?
My very first story that I wrote, which was again fan fiction, was I literally did every single thing wrong, because you're not supposed to like enter. Twilight fan fiction took a turn because it went from vampires to all human, and basically it's everybody writing their own stories with the same names, which is a testament to the readers who could keep track of all the different Edwards and all the different Bellas. Is mind-blowingly cool. Readers are amazing. And I started, people would definitely have called it a Mary Sue situation. And that was bad then. Now I don't know if it's as bad, but
what do you mean by Mary Sue?
Mary Sue is basically considering like you've inserted yourself in the story. It usually has a negative connotation in that. So say I inserted myself into Twilight, and you could do no wrong. You're the best character ever. Everybody loves you. That kind of stuff. But I think we've all of us have tendencies to want to see ourselves in the main characters, especially if they're not jerks, right? Like we'd like to, I don't know. I always read from the point of view of like, my world is their world once I'm in there. And so, Mary Sue would be bad. Back then you wouldn't, oh, it's a Mary Sue. They just put themselves in the book, which is still, again, if you want to read it, you want to read it. So there you go. But I had a girl that got dropped in to the Twilight series, and what was her thing? She could see ghosts. So I don't know if you know anything about the Edward from Twilight, he can see your thoughts. So she was going slightly crazy because she could see ghosts. And he could see her thoughts. So he was seeing the ghosts with her. So that's kind of, and that no one read it. No one read that story. I have like one or two readers that I still have today, actually, that I would wait for their review and I'd be like, did you like it? And they were like, oh my gosh. And it was like pen pal. It wasn't like writing, it was like pen pal. And
wow.
And then after that, I was taking a shower and I was thinking about how all of our fan fiction was sort of based around money, because Edward in Twilight is very rich. And I was like, man, I want to read more about like guys like my husband, like that is a hero because he'll give you the best piece of chicken on the grill, right? Like that's for you, because that's the kind of like generous soul that you kind of have to look for in real life, right? You have to find the person that will be like, no, you take the umbrella, I'll get wet, and that's the kind of guy I got. I got this awesome guy, and he is at no point going to be, well, who knows, life takes turns, be able to deliver me, a private jet, Turks and Caicos. It's not going to happen. But I can guarantee you every time I will not get the weird wonky piece of chicken on my plate, because he will make sure I have the good chicken. And so I was like, I want to write that. And I'm like, but it needs to be dramatic. I'm going to make him homeless. So that's where Poughkeepsie came from. Because I was like, isn't that crazy? Yeah. I was like, what if all he has to give her is love? That's it. That's all he has to offer. And so that's where that came from. And the only thing he owns is the number of smiles she's given him at the train station in the morning, because he's homeless and most people don't see him, but she smiles at him every morning, and so he counts her smiles. And so that's where that came from. And I started writing that one night. I'm like, and then hit it, and then boom, review after review. For some reason it resonated with the readers, and I'm pretty sure I wrote the first 3 chapters that night. And it's like a fever dream fan fiction. You just want to get in there and get the readers what they would like. So that's sort of where Poughkeepsie started. I want to say it was 2008, 2009, give or take. I was in fan fiction for a few years before publishing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I loved it. Still love it. It was such great memories. So
I mean, I absolutely love Poughkeepsie when I read it, because I read it in 2014. And after I read it, I was completely hooked on all of your writing, by the way. And I just devoured all of them. I mean, the story was so intricate and just moving, and it made me empathetic and actually like opened up my eyes because because your main male character is homeless, and it's like it hit me because, like you just said, he's homeless, and so many people don't look at the homeless population when they're off doing their own thing, and that totally resonated with me. And you have me as a reader for life from that.
That's because you're empathetic. You're of an empathetic soul, right? Like, it's one of those things that if you can understand where someone's coming from and you give them your heart, I find that that's the best reader to have, because that's the kind of person I enjoy spending time with most, is the ones that would, stop and hold the door for someone that needed help getting through it. That's it. Like, that's what I would like in my friends. And I've found the best way to do that is find readers that that root for the right person in a book.
Right.
Yeah. Sort of. We root for everybody a little bit, but we want the winners to, to be the kind that would be kind, basically.
Right. And even in that series, the brotherhood that is built, some of those characters that are our heroes aren't necessarily good guys.
No.
They do some bad things, and
they do a lot of bad things. They do. Yep. It's an interesting dichotomy of trying to figure out, like, readers, we're okay with I'm going to say unaliving, because I don't know what
unaliving
thing. Unaliving the situation. Readers are okay with that, but if you have one of your characters hurt an animal, light your book on fire, because nobody's going to read it. Nobody wants to read the puppy kicking book. They just don't. A certain amount of you can't just indiscriminately that's everybody's gone. Yeah, you got to have a good character. Yeah.
So, because you have been writing for so long, you've been writing for so long.
Time.
Where do you fall on the trigger warning sort of controversy that has been going on lately?
That's a good question. And actually, recently I wrote Drowning in Stars, which is probably one of the few times that I talk about SA in a book, because there's a part of me morally where I feel like it shouldn't be used as entertainment. But having said that, I also want people that have had things like that happen to them realize that they are also the hero of a story, their own story. They're a hero in their own life, and that just getting from point A to point B and living through something like that deserves to be celebrated and honored and respected. And so that's where, in Drowning in Stars, when I was writing it, I was like, okay, so this has to be like a monument to all the women I've met and encountered that have survived this kind of stuff, and men. It happens to everyone.
Right.
It can happen to everyone. It doesn't have to happen to everyone. And I wanted to honor the what that does to a person, and how when all is said and done, your soul is good. Your soul is good, right? Like, I just wanted to, like, it sounds morbid, but I'm always trying to put stuff into my books that I feel like I would like left on the planet. And I would like to leave on the planet that no matter what happens to you, even if it's something like that that's uncomfortable and hard for us to face, that you're still a hero. Do the right things, stand up for yourself when you can. You can't stand up for yourself at the time, you're still just as worthy as someone who could stand up for themselves at the moment in time,
Right.
And so it was a very delicate book to write, because I wanted for the reader to see it themselves if they needed to, and I wanted to protect them, even just the memory of who they were then, I wanted them
Right.
to know that my heart was with them and that I have such empathy for what happened, and that I wanted to you know, let's all just hold hands and realize that we're going to be okay, and people that do this to you deserve punishment. And
Right.
some SA situations, there's never a punishment.
Right.
Whatever the situation, it's very delicate. It's, again,
Yeah.
not something I want to use for entertainment
Yeah.
purposes. It would had to have, and when I wrote it, I wasn't even sure if I was going to release that book. I was writing that book, and it was like 80% of their childhood. I was like,
Right.
all right, I guess I'm writing a kid's book. I don't know what this is. And so
Mhm.
just wrote it. And when I got to the end and I wrote a note to the main character, then I was like, okay, I can release this now, because it was done for the right purpose in my
Right.
heart. I felt good about that. And that I apologized to the character
Mhm.
for having her had to go through that. But I wanted to honor her. Anyway, so that's a lot about the trigger warning. So do I put a trigger warning on that? Do we have a trigger warning in life? Depends, I guess, on what it is. Are you using SA for entertainment purposes? To move your story along? Is your character? I feel like we do deserve a heads up.
Right.
Don't get ambushed.
I mean, just simply putting scenes of SA,
yeah,
you know, is
and
enough to say,
exactly.
you know, it
But there
gives
is
that
no trigger
reader
warning
a
for
possible.
me. I did not put a trigger warning in front of Drowning in Stars. So then that was a very conscious choice. But I would put a trigger warning in any of my books for the unaliving, or, you know, like I'm not, that particular book and that particular character, she doesn't actually describe what happens to her. And I feel like that's her special brain space that she does not have to share, which, again, it's sort of weird. I do agree that there should be a trigger warning that gives people a heads up. And I know, like, nowadays, if I see a blurred picture that's, you know, graphic content, if you come across that on the internet, I'm not clicking. I am not clicking. And I am super appreciative of not having to click it. So I feel like that's kind of where we should be at. You know, are you emotionally ready to click the blur? And if you can click the blur and handle that mentally, power to you. But if it shouldn't be like a jump scare.
Correct. So we kind of jumped past this, but are you traditional, independent, or a hybrid author?
I am currently considered a hybrid, though definitely indie, because the small publisher that published Poughkeepsie is now an offshoot of Simon & Schuster, but in the beginning it was for sure all women, all run by Twilight Fan Fic offshoots, and then some of the staff was not in fan fiction, they were just in publishing. So I started there. Then when I got to Fire Down Below, I was like, yeah, nobody needs to take responsibility for this book except me, so I'll publish this. And I was like,
is Fire Down Below where you switched your sort of writing style? Because you go more rom-com and kind of, I would say, gritty, kind of boys' locker room sort of joke-ish with Fire Down Below, and then some of the other, you know, the future books preceding or following that. Is that where you would say your switch was?
I would definitely I definitely didn't know I had the rom-com version of me until I started writing Fire Down Below. Ironically, that was fan fiction as well.
Was it really? Of what?
Oh yeah, that's Twilight. Edward was the pharmacist. Bella was the one that needed the cream. And so it's important to remember I was completely anonymous when I was writing those. All we had was a pen name. You didn't have your face. Nobody knew I lived in Maryland. You didn't know anything about anybody. So, man, that takes the gloves right off, and you're like, you never, at any point did I imagine that I would be hand painting maxi pads to letting them dry on my table and taking them to signings. Like, I was at no point, you know, when I was writing 2 a.m. about this horrible story, to make my readers laugh. Like, I was trying to be as outrageous as possible to get the laughter for them.
And it works. It works.
You know, work is a strong word for what that does to people. But yeah, that's a book. It's a book. They didn't make it illegal. And then they let me, like, it showed you that Amazon really will let you do your own thing.
Mm-hmm. This is very true.
Yeah, so that was like, I also learned to tame my rom-com a touch, because some people really can't handle that level, and I get that. It's like, I get it. I read it back and I'm like, sweet Nelly, that's something else. You know, there's things you want on the planet. That's probably not one of them, but people, honestly, laughter is healing. And I've had so many people message me over the years saying, this is going to sound completely bizarre, but I am currently, you know, in the waiting room at the hospital, and I don't know what to do with myself because I'm waiting for something to happen. And I read this stupid book and it took my mind off of it. And I think to myself, that's awesome. I can 100% support leaving it out there so somebody can maybe distract themselves from something that they don't want to face or having trouble getting through, and gives them a laugh. So that's my hope. It's going to stay published, I guess. And then, and then I actually have a middle grade book that's on submission, going to like super traditional publishers through my agent. So, and that would have a different pen name altogether. So I'm sort of a hybrid. It's definitely different. In the first publisher, indie, I had a lot of my own voice was maintained. And when you're doing self-published, clearly you can put whatever you want out there. And then traditional published, I wrote that book. My daughter was in 7th grade. She's 20 now. How old was she? Maybe she was 13 when I wrote that. We wrote it together, she and I. And and it's been cooking since then. So I've learned patience is a virtue with the traditional publishing. Wow. Yeah, if I could never just do traditional, because I would, all that time waiting, I would lose my mind. I don't have the patience for that, but I do have the patience for letting someone else have the patience. With the agent, and she's doing a beautiful job, so we'll let her do her work and cross our fingers that somebody will. I'd love to see it in print someday. That would be fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's me. I'm kind of I'm everything in nothing all at once.
So is writing a full-time job for you, or do you have another profession?
Writing should be a full-time job. Sometimes my Cricut machine calls to me, and all of a sudden crafting becomes my full-time job. It's funny, just this particular release, I was thinking how lovely it would be to just be an author and not. And I have a team. I have an amazing team of people to help me. Literally could not do it without them. My beautiful bloggers, which I checked. The first time we emailed was 2016, girls. So we have been friends for a long time.
We have.
Long time. Can you believe that? 2016?
I know. Yeah.
Gosh, doesn't it feel like yesterday? Like
it does.
Man, could you imagine if we had looked at each other and said at 2016, what was going to happen in the next? We would have thought we were. I think we would start drinking. Maybe who knows? Who knows what we would have done? Yeah. And now I totally forgot what we were talking about. What the hell was that?
A job, writing full time.
Oh, ready
My
full time.
job.
Yeah, it should be. But I wind up, you have to do the graphics, you have to do the promoting, you have to do the emailing, you have to do the forms, you have to do the social media. And like sometimes you log on to Facebook and you're like, okay, I'm just going to post this one thing and then I'm going to go. And an hour and a half later, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just read all of that internet drama. And read every
Right?
thread with every comment, and I have nothing to do with it. So yeah, it should be. I am getting better with now that they've invented weighted blankets and I have a laptop, I will put my laptop and my weighted blanket, laptop, and then I'll write then. And I'll try and keep my phone away from me. And then I'll get some good words down that way. So I'm learning a little bit more.
What else do you have to have in your like writing area to get some good numbers and word counts?
It's definitely changing. It used to be music. I used to have music, and sometimes it would be the same dang song over and over and over and over and over. So like sometimes my kids would be like, seriously?
We've heard this 15 times. Yes.
Yeah, but it sets the tone for a scene. And writing a scene takes much longer than listening to a song, so you listen to it 150 times. Again, the weighted blanket laptop now, quiet, which I didn't think I needed, but apparently now I need it. So I'm getting older, or what the deal is. But when back in 2020, I had a very mild case of the COVID, but I lost my taste and smell. Some people would say I lost my taste since I wrote Fire Down Below, but it's really just since 2020. And I struggled with the brain fog. It really affected my creativity and my productivity. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to drive anybody to school, which has always been a huge part of my day. And I know it's part of your day too, isn't it? Yes, yep. I used to watch your days and you see your alarm code go up. I was like, well, Stephanie, I feel that.
Yep. Morning drop off, afternoon pickup. It's a constant.
Going to the swim practice. Like I used to watch the whole thing with you. Yeah. And I used to get up like 5:36 to get my daughter to her program. That was a trip of maybe, depending, could be 40 minutes one way, and then you come back, and then you go back again, and then you come back. Wow. So I get a lot of running in my head done, but you couldn't get, like, I wish I could have done it verbally, but she was also in theater, and I was big in volunteering. So I would be making costumes, I would be doing set work, and my husband would come with me. And so it was like a big thing. Right. I can't believe I got anything done during that time, right? Like, but you're in that, you multitask. And now I'm like, after the COVID and the loss of taste and smell and like the centering of my actual day is like all here. I'm like, really? You should have written 10 books by now. You could do so much more. But just like at the very end of writing Flicker, it was like a switch flipped for me and things came back to normal, and I was able to think all the way through to the end of a sentence, which was lovely. And so it's been quite lovely doing the writing now that I feel like I can think through the brain fog, which is good. Yeah.
So if there was to the I guess you could say television, movie, Hollywood gods, which format would you want? Movie, television, or limited series? And which one of your books or book series would you like to have seen in that sort of world?
I really feel like cinematically Poughkeepsie would be, I think it would lend itself to seeing different cast members, different storylines. And so I could see that doing like a Netflixy, passion flixy kind of thing where it would sort of give you, I think it would have to be longer because it's just so many characters. But I think that would be fun. I would love to see the train station and all of it. I'd like to see that one still. Probably that would be my first pick. There was a brief period of time where it was being looked at, and then that kind of stuff takes time too. It's like forever, and then
Right.
somehow it got dropped off of. It was, I think, a French gentleman that was looking into it.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, it's been so long now. So long ago. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Probably 2012 maybe. Who knows? So it's currently doing nothing with the movies.
We're putting it back out there in the universe. We want to see this.
Eventually it's going to get a new cover, and so it's got a temporary one right now, and it will get a new one down the line. And yeah, well, I think that's
I love the hands, though. The hands are the best.
They're
oh my
beautiful.
goodness, they're
beautiful.
And just to watch the progression between the entire series of the hand and the tattoo and the all of the tattoos and the things that end up ending in the hands. It was just such a beautiful journey.
So glad you love that. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Hands, and when we picked the hands, there was many different pictures, and we went through, because it's a hard one to cover. What the heck do you put on that cover? Right. And my publisher at the time found that image, and it was for arthritis. It's an arthritis cover.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, man, I thought it was very lovely, but I hate spiders, and I'm not a fan of hands because I feel like they're one leg short of being like a bug, and even though it'd be 8 for a spider, bugs are pretty close to spiders. The corner of your eye. I was like, not hands. I hate hands. I don't want to see hands forever. And I, of course, love the hands, and I love the tattoo and the whole thing. It's so cute, and it was very nice. And it's pretty iconic. Like, it's not many people wanted the arthritis cover, so I got to have that to myself, which was lovely.
Wow. I absolutely, that's like one of my, those are, if I was to have to like judge covers, because I do really read a lot because of the cover. Mm-hmm. That is one of, hands down, the most like iconic covers for me.
Oh my gosh.
Your set of Poughkeepsie. I absolutely love that. I love it. Love it.
That's amazing. Though that cover I thought was very sweet.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
And they did it's got a raised font, which for me is kind of crazy because that's not something I would ever get in real life. And it's like slightly iridescent. I just love it. I wish I could read German.
Right?
It's so pretty though. I love that cover. Yeah, it's cute.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll show you when I change covers. I'm going to send you the picture so you can tell me what you think of it before I go live.
Okay. Sounds good. I was going to do celebrity. Do you have any celebrity fan casts for any of your characters?
Man, back when I used to do this, now all of those ones that I would have chosen are old, which is so sad. I don't even know. I don't know who I would pick anymore. I guess Tom Holland could do Blake. He can do anything. I don't think he wants to work for me, but if he does, he would do a good Blake, I think. And I don't know about Beckett. Oh, Michael B. Jordan for Beckett.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh, I'd like that.
Yes.
That would be amazing. Yes.
Yes.
I think that's the only, I'm sure I should think of some girls. Oh, let's make Zendaya Eve. Oh, and she and he would be
magic. Yes, I could definitely see the two of them. Ooh. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's off the top of my head, that's who I think they would be amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool. So speaking of actors of color, your characters they're not necessarily ambiguous because in Not Mercy Havoc, we know that he is a person of color.
We do. And I don't have him handy where he is, but he's around.
How do you go about, what is your process for writing people of color into your books? Because you do it well, if I do say
Thank
so
you.
myself.
That's a huge honor. It is very important to me that life resembles the life I've lived. And I have been blessed to be in a community that has many different type of people in it. And I have gotten to know and love so many different human beings in my life that for me to have a book come from any experience at all, it will have to include more than just white people. It's just going to have to, because that's where my life is at. You know, I was in the teaching background, and in my school, the children could be many different types of backgrounds. And to see how different cultures are and what would be perceived as wrong from one culture that is not in another, and respecting that in the human being you're looking at, it is super important. I think my husband has taught me a ton, in just understanding that just because your upbringing is one way doesn't mean that someone else's upbringing is incorrect or necessarily wrong. It's different than yours. And what would be considered a compliment from one culture might not be considered a compliment in another culture. And just how different people act in different to authority in different ways. It's all about empathy and respect, and understanding that your experience is literally just one person's experience, and somebody else's experience is it's actually probably more important for you to pay attention to, because you know what it's like for you. Do you know what it's like for them? I don't know. I feel like it's something that it's been such a touchy subject, and I'm so grateful for the fact that it's touchy. I want people to listen to one another. I want them to hear what's being said and assimilate it into their soul a little bit.
So do you make sure that you have sensitivity readers when
I do.
When you write those?
Weren't you a Havoc reader earlier too? Or was
yes.
I feel like
a
you
little.
did. Yeah. A little bit. Yeah, just to make sure. And I do have some sensitivity readers and friends that I'm so grateful for them. And I don't know. To me, it just has to be about honoring the people that have been in your life, and make sure that they're represented in a way that maybe if this is the first time you've ever met someone that's Black, even if it's in your imagination, I want you to get the full picture that a different life is a valid life, and empathy is required for everyone. And I just, it's something that's important to me. And honestly, it was just because Nick's had a best friend, and my husband has one of his very best friends who sort of is my model for Havoc. I probably have never told him that, and I probably will, but someday he'll think I'm crazy, because he'll really be like, "What are you doing?" And he's such of our hearts that, I don't know. I've watched him raise his children, who are beautiful, and they're tall. They're so tall, and they're boys, and they're still boys, and they're over 6 foot. And it brings tears to my eyes thinking how you would not know these are the most important babies. These are important babies. Anyway, I mean, I am not wise enough to speak on it, but I hope to God I'm wise enough to recognize it. And again, things I want to leave on the planet that I want my grandchildren to read is understand your job. Your job is to have empathy. Your job is to not hurt anyone. Don't hurt anyone, even if it's unintentional, right? Even if it's unintentional. And understand that you can unintentionally hurt people with assumptions, with how you react to a situation. Empathy. That's that. I feel like that could be on my tombstone. Have empathy for everyone, and not think that you're the center of the universe. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Let's not let anyone think they're less important than the person standing next to them, because it's the only way as humanity we will move forward. It's if we see each other in each other.
Love it. So let's do some fun questions with your number that you provided me with. These are random questions. They were pulled from decks of cards. Don't get me if
that's totally fine.
If they're crazy. All right. So first question is, what weird food combination do you really enjoy?
That's a good question. Oh my gosh, weird food combination. I think was more when I was younger. I would do French fries in a shake.
Oh, that's still really good. What? Wendy's French fries or McDonald's French fries with a Wendy's Frosty is so good. So good.
It's super. I think that would
Dairy Queen French fries with a Blizzard. I used to do that. I still do that with a Butterfinger Blizzard.
Oh, Butterfinger.
So good.
Yeah. Delish.
So good.
Delish.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
We're
the hot and the cold and the salt and the sweet and
exactly.
That's weird. Yeah,
exactly.
But not too weird. Like I feel like that's not the weirdest, but I'm not an adventurous eater, unfortunately.
Alrighty. Would you rather be able to record your thoughts or your dreams while you sleep?
Dreams. Oh, I would love to record the dreams. Yeah, because it's some of my storylines come from my dreams, and I hate when I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, that was a good one, and then I fall asleep, and I wake up in the morning. I was like, oh, I missed it. They're literally like complete.
How did that go again?
Sentences. Yeah, exactly. I'll send myself a text message or an email at 2 a.m. that's just gibberish. In the morning, I'm like, oh. You were sleeping and you were stupid and you did not remember it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good times. Good times. Yes, I would like to record that just to see if I got anything good going on up there. Probably not, but yeah.
And then finally, if you had someone following you around all the time, what would you have them do? So you have a valet that's with you all the time. What would you have them do?
I would definitely have them do the housework, right? Like that would be great. I just get like a little, basically a human Roomba situation where you're just like program their day and be like, this. But then again, I honestly don't. I'd probably chat, and we'd be watching movies and doing diamond paintings on the like. I'm too much of a chatter, and I would feel weird about somebody doing something like that for me. So I don't know. Yeah. So that's it. Usefulness. No. Now, what about you? What would you do if somebody was following you around?
Oh, I would definitely have someone that cleans for me. If I could have someone clean for me, I'd do it all day. Okay. All day. That is I hate that chore. That is the one chore that I really just dislike above anything else is cleaning. Ugh.
I like the deep cleaning. Like I wouldn't mind if like they didn't clean anything else other than pull out the furniture and get behind there. Yeah, do that. This spring I've got to do the cleaning where you're like, I think I need to take a Benadryl because there's so much dust right now.
Yeah. Definitely. That happened. Well, Debra, thank you for chatting with me.
Oh my gosh, so much fun.
It was so much fun. I greatly appreciate your time. I will make sure that I have all of your information in the description box so people can go find you everywhere.
Thank you so much. And I adore you. And thank you so much for being a part of this train of reading for so long now. I always wait for your reviews with bated breath. Love them. And all the video stuff. You went straight from blogging and like rolled right into video. I was like, how does she do this all so good? So you do an amazing job.
Thank you. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed that small little chat of big things that Debra had to say. And just know that I absolutely adore her books. She has so many that you guys can go check out. I will leave a list of the books that I have reviews for down in the description box. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in another video. If you go